Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Mrs. Ruth Lowe, the Honorable Ruth Lowe. Ms. Lowe was a member of the Diamond Bar's Planning Commission, served on the Park and Recreation Commission, and currently the Mayor Pro Tem of Diamond Bar and on the City Council since 2015. And she's also currently a Deputy District Attorney with the Los Angeles County, and she's also a member of the Special Prosecution Bureau, and in 2011, she was acknowledged as outstanding prosecutor for successfully prosecuting many complex cases. So, would you like to introduce yourself, Mrs. Lowe? Ms. Lowe?
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much. That's really a very kind introduction. I think you've said it all, and I am truly enjoying my career as a Deputy District Attorney for Los Angeles County. And of course, being on City Council is really an honor to serve our residents. So I'm a mom. I have two sons. I'm married to my husband, Rick, and we live in Diamond Bar. We've lived here probably 25 years now. And both of my sons attended Diamond Bar High School. And now one works in Los Angeles and the other one works in the Bay Area. So in addition to that, that's probably one of the things I'm happiest about is, being a parent.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So now we'll go to Connor Fox with the first topic.
Yeah, so during the meeting, we'll have three topics and Nicholas, Ryan, and I will each lead one. I'll go first, and this is going to be about your community involvement as a council member of Diamond Bar.
Okay.
So my first question was, and first of all, good afternoon, Mrs. Lowe, and thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. So our first question was, one of your concerns that you emphasized during your last election was supporting the local economy. And, when people read news articles or listen to the radio, they usually hear about the state or national economy. So can you help us understand more about your role in supporting the local economy in Diamond Bar City as a council member?
Okay, well, that's really observant that we talk about the national economy, and what about in the city of Diamond Bar. I don't know if you've noticed, but in Diamond Bar, we do not have many of the big corporate headquarters, such as Apple or Amazon or even Home Depot. I think our office specializes in smaller independent companies. Believe it or not, we have a thriving tech business in our city, and tech entrepreneurs are moving into our city and setting up businesses that way. We have a very strong retail market, which is, of course, geared to local residents and local businesses. And one of our strongest producing industries, believe it or not, is our gas stations. So what are we doing to support our businesses? Well, one of the things that we did when COVID was first known, and then we knew that there was a lockdown and that we couldn't go to the restaurants, one of the first things we did at City Council was to change our local ordinances regarding outdoor dining. I don't know if you remember back to, last year, January, you couldn't eat outdoors because there was just health and safety regulations. So we had a meeting and we revamped our outdoor dining policies. And instead we cut through all the red tapes and we said, you know what, if you're a restaurant and you want to sit outdoor dining, here's the green light, work it out with your landlord, make sure that people are safe. If you want to put them in your parking lot, if your landlord is okay with it, and if you can protect your customers from the cars so they don't get run over, please let that happen. We also revamped and relaxed our sign ordinances. So before it was like you can only have temporary signs for 10 days, a week, 30 days, and they had to be especially sized and font types. We relaxed all of those requirements, and we waived all the fees that are related to both outdoor dining and to the signs. So that's one aspect that we did legislatively to help our small businesses. And then we get these funds that are given to they're called community block funds. The city gets like $100,000 to help the community. And so what we do is and mostly it's for construction. So like if your folks have a house and they wanted to do an addition to make it ADA friendly or do some improvements, the city has these grants, not grants, these loans that are interest-free loans that we give to people. So what we did was when COVID had the lockdown, we repurposed all of those monies and we gave them out as grants to our businesses. And so we gave out altogether close to, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but over $250,000 to all of our local businesses in terms of grants. Everybody got a $5,000. Eligible businesses submitted an application. It was a lottery system, and we gave out $5,000 to everyone who qualified for the lottery. And then we got another round of money, and then we gave out more money. And so as we are getting money from the feds, we're turning around and giving them to, we're going out and giving them to small businesses to buy PPE, to do improvements, to do payroll, to pay salaries, to pay rent. So those are just some of the things that we did on city council to help our local economy. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Thank you about telling us about that, because that is very interesting, and we weren't exactly sure about everything going on in the city council. Like we always hear about about the local governments like giving to our businesses, and it's really nice to hear like the specifics. And it's cool to see that because people don't usually hear about city government. So
yeah, people usually don't. And and it was so neat, we got the list of who got it, and we say, hey, we know those people, and oh, we know those people.
yeah.
And honestly, they said, oh yeah, we used the money to buy these those plexiglass partitioners. And so that's how they used the money. And we used it to pay our workers for this month. So so we know it's going back into the economy. And when the pandemic, people feel like they're alone and they feel like nobody's supporting them. It's part of the community too. So that's another aspect of how money helps, even beyond just the physical writing the check.
Yeah. So thank you. And then another question was, well, one of your proud achievements was the 5760 freeway fix, and there you oversaw the addition of new on-ramps and off-ramps. So our question is, how long did the process of this freeway fix take, and which organizations or government agencies did you have to cooperate with to make it happen?
Well, the quick answer to how long did it take is forever. And it's not done yet. I remember before I even got on city council, the city council back then was maybe, I'd say like close to 20 years ago, they were talking about the 5760. And because it's been such a problem for so many years. And so every council after that has been working on this project. It so happens that by the time I was mayor, the couple years before I became mayor, we were really doing a big push. And the year that I was mayor, we went to Washington, D.C., and we lobbied for funds. Now, granted, I'm not going to say I was the first city council that did that. There have been maybe 5 or 6 trips, yearly trips, to lobby Washington, D.C. for money. So, so in that year, we finally finished and opened up the on-ramp and off-ramp at Lemon Boulevard. So what that 5760 fix is so the 57 comes north-south, east 60 goes east-west, and when they combine, it's combining like maybe 7 to 8 lanes into 3. And if you don't know where you're going, and if you've got a big truck, and if you're going fast, and if you're going slow, whatever, it's really dangerous, and it's really scary, and it's really congested. So so that fix is actually a 4-part, a 4-phased work. And so the on-ramps and off-ramps is phase 2. Now we're in phase 3. Phase 3 is opening Grand Avenue, and redoing the golf course. And phase 4 is what we call mainline improvements. We're actually working on the freeway, and that is the most expensive, most costly, and most complicated part of it. So I think you're going to see, and this freeway is gonna get worse before it gets better. But we're working on it. It's going to take another 5 years. Well, hopefully not. We're lobbying Secretary Buttigieg for more money to finish the mainline improvements. President Biden says he's going to give money to infrastructure. So we're pretty confident that we're going to get federal money that way. One of our other partners is Metro. Metro is the California Metro is the leading, they're the funding agency. So they're this big agency that collects all the money from SB1, from the feds, from bond measures, and they get all the money and then they prioritize projects. So our project 5760 is like #1 on the funding. So we're really confident it's going to get done. So besides partnering with Metro, our engineering partners is a company called ACE. They're specializing in these kinds of projects. Our other partners are Congresswoman Judy Young Kim, Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, Congresswoman Judy Chu, and they have been really fighting for us to get the money. And then in addition, other partners are Senator Newman and Assemblyman Phil Chen. They've been getting money for us from SB1, and that is going to go into that pot. So, like, it's so amazing. It takes a lot of agencies, a lot of partners, and a lot of working together to get the money, to get the design, to get the contracting. Or like Caltrans is another one of our partners in getting this built. So, and you can't get anything done without having partnerships, and Diamond Bar is really good at that.
Thank you. That was really interesting as well. We didn't know that there was so many moving parts in that, and that it was.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I forget, we had last maybe about 3 weeks ago, we had a press conference with Young Kim to do the opening of Grand Avenue, and the people who actually were part of the partners, they all showed up, and it's like, oh, where'd you come from? I didn't know you were helping us. And they said, yeah, we've been working on this. So it's really good. Actually, the guy that came was from Caltrans, the California State Transportation. So it's a state and a local and regional project.
My last question for this topic is, another one of your achievements was playing a key role in protecting the Los Hermanos Ranch with other city governments. So we thought that was really interesting because something that really isn't seen very often. So protecting like such a large amount of land with other city governments. So can you tell us what was the most difficult obstacle in protecting this land and how you surpassed it?
I think the most difficult thing was the suspense, and just like the suspense and the anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen. So are you guys familiar with the real estate that we're talking about? So right there between us and Chino Hills. So that has been like this beautiful, it's 2,400 acres of pristine land. Nothing's ever been built on it before. And when you drive by, it feels like you're in like, what state am I in? Much less what city am I in? And so it was just so special. And everybody says, what's gonna happen? And then, so the suspense was, we did not, it kind of goes back to when Governor Jerry Brown was the governor. Well, what he did was he dissolved what we call redevelopment agencies. And those were entities that were created by city local governments to own certain land and improve that. So when Jerry Brown took office, he says, oh, no more, we're not doing any more of those. So you have to give it up. But when you give it up, you have to do certain things. Well, that piece of land was owned by City of Industry, and they had to give it up. Well, when they give it up, they have to put it up for auction, and it has to be the best price that can be gotten for that piece of land. And it has to go for some use. And some of the money has to go to benefit the local agencies, such as the city, the school districts, so people can share in that. So then we got wind, so nothing was happening. It was all secret, top secret. Nothing was happening. We're sitting on it. And one day we said, oh my gosh, they're going to sell it to the solar farm, a solar development, and become a solar farm. And so they did. It was published that the value of the property was $100 million for all of that property. Then we found out that they were going to sell it for $42 million. Right? Right? Like what? What happened? Doesn't that smells bad? That it from 100 million to 42 million. So then we started working and trying to get information, trying to make contacts, and we worked really hard to do public comments, going to the meetings, and said, wait a minute, you're not following the rules, you're not following the rules. Then finally, we filed 3 or 4 lawsuits to stop the process of selling it to the solar farm. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that we don't like solar farms, it's just we don't like it there because of the wildlife and because of the heat that it would generate, and plus it would destroy that natural habitat. So so we filed 4 lawsuits, and so then we waited, and then we waited, and then we waited. But we had good partners. Our partners were the city of the city of Brea, and the city of Chino Hills. So we were the lead agency in doing the lawsuit, and then because we had the winning argument that they didn't follow the rules when they decided to do the when they tried to sell it to that developer, and then we also had some good luck because other things were going on in the other cities. So one day they said, you know what, let's get together and form a separate agency, and the city of Industries will give the land to that agency. And instead of suing us, just give us, don't collect your attorney's fees, make that part of your contribution, and you guys pay these contribution, and we'll make a new agency, and we will all own the land together, and we'll all govern the land together. We'll all decide how we're going to use the land, and we're going to put in a stipulation. Nothing, there can be no use on the land unless it's for public good, and we're going to keep it open space. So that's written in the deed. It's written in the bylaws that it's going to remain open space for the public to enjoy.
Thank you again for answering all of my questions, and for teaching us so much about what you do on the city council. We found
Thanks,
it really
Connor.
neat.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure. And on city council, our job is to listen and to see what we can do to make our community better in so many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you again. And then I believe Ryan's topic is next.
So I'll get on with the second topic, but an interesting thing is actually my aunt works for Caltrans.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, so for our second topic is lessons from previous experience. So for my first question, as you were first elected to the Diamond Bar City Council in 2015, there have been many changes and decisions to be made from 2015 and to now in 2021. For my question, I wanted to ask you is how have the concerns the community of Diamond Bar had in 2015 differ from the concerns in the Diamond Bar community now, and what changes have you made during your terms?
In changes or just changes in respect to the concerns?
Maybe in respect to the concerns.
Okay. In many respects, we haven't had any like big major shifts in what the public wants in 2015 as it is in 2020 when I ran, and in even this year in Diamond Bar, the number one concern is public safety. People who want to live in Diamond Bar, they want to be safe. They want to be able to, park their cars and not worry about getting broken into. They want to go out to dinner and not worry that they're going to be burglarized. They want to go to school and walk to school and not be accosted or assaulted. So that is the number one concern. And so that's been a concern forever, and it still is. And we let me see, today is June 1. 2 weeks ago, we had a city council meeting, and one of the big topics was about the current district attorney. And we had 80 comments saying that they were afraid. People are afraid because of what the district attorney is doing, what he's not doing, and they want the city council to say, hey, wake up. We don't like this. We want you to change. So we got 80 comments about that. So that's really powerful. That's our mandate, is to keep our city safe. And so to do that, we are what we call a contract city. We don't have the Diamond Bar Police Department. We don't run our own police department. We contract with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, but they're ours because they work only for us, and it's the Diamond Bar Walnut. So they are our police department. And what we do is we do special patrols, we do special operations, specifically targeting hot areas. What they call hot areas is like what kinds of crimes are popular at the time. So that is what we do. So I don't know that we've done any, but what we've done in response to those is we do neighborhood watches. Have you heard neighborhood watch programs? Okay, so Connor has, and what that is generally is it's where each neighborhood, they form a little group where you contact your other neighbors and say, hey, you watch out for each other. That's the bottom line. You watch out for each other. You say, you know what, I noticed some prowlers. I noticed that cars are broken into. Oh, mail, people stealing mail. And you call each other and you watch out. You pick up the mail for your neighbors. You just watch out. And when I started in 2015, there were 42 to 45 groups. And last year, we have grown to 90 groups. And that was one of my goals, because I really, and if you're helping your neighbors, that helps you and it helps the community, at large. And then one of the other things that we did was, how technology is that, those Ring doorbells. Do you guys have those at your house? Have you seen them? So, you ding dong and then you get the video of who's at your door. So in 2016, 17, I created a program where if you lived in Diamond Bar and you could get a rebate of $50 to get the Ring. So a lot of people signed up for that. So if you go up around the city of Diamond Bar, you see a lot of Ring doorbells. And what that does is it keeps us safe, because you can see who's coming. And if you had a break-in, the cops can go to your neighbor and say, hey, was your Ring on? Did you get a photo of the person who broke in? Did you get a photo of the car as they're driving by? Or did you get a photo of people walking? We actually got, there was some actually really clear photos of burglars, like there were 3 of them. And, they would turn around and pose for the camera. Is really crazy. So that is like what we do to help to bring public safety and make it work for us. So that really hasn't changed, and we just keep on doing that because crime never sleeps, I'm sad to say.
Thank you so much. I also saw like in Walnut, they have like those signs that say like drone operating. And I saw in Diamond Bar, they also have the signs that say neighborhood watch. So were you, for Diamond Bar, were there any concerns about like bringing those?
You mean the drones?
The drones, yeah. It says like drones operating.
You know what? We have not gone there yet. Drones bring new issues because of the privacy.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet because we just want to make sure we do it right. It's one thing to enforce public safety, but then you got to balance that with people's rights to privacy. So that's important.
Okay, thank you. So now for my second question, Ms. Lowe, as someone who deals with prosecuting very serious crimes, for the question I wanted to ask you is, over your past experiences with serious crimes, how have you been able to establish a persona of professionalism and dedication among some of your most difficult cases?
There's a lesson, and I think I'll gladly share it with you, is that we learn from our mistakes. if there's anything, we don't learn from our successes, but we learn from our mistakes. And one of my early mistakes was that I kind of think I'm a very compassionate person, and I want to reach out and help victims, which is what prosecutors do. We speak up for victims who, people who've been abused, assaulted, raped, burglarized. So I had a case where I was trying to establish a rapport with my victim, because the victim is the one that we're trying to help. And so, but my mistake was that I was too overly empathetic, too, like, I saw her side of the story. She was a domestic violence victim. And I was just like in her shoes, but too much. And so I was not able to see the big picture. I became like her narrow, just really a narrow focus. So what did I learn? And because of that, I didn't see other parts of the case in the prosecution that was like, oh, wait a minute, what happened here? We have to explore this area. What did we do wrong? What didn't we do? So what I learned from that is, while you have to be really empathetic, you still have to be really objective, and you still have to step back a little bit. So that's what I learned. And so every year we do that. And while we can be, so to do that, you have to just, you have to have a line, you have to have a wall, but you reach out and you connect. But never forgetting that you have a job to do, that I have a job to do, which is to prosecute this offender. But you have to be completely fair, completely level, and completely respectful of everybody, even though that person did a terrible thing.
Thank you so much for telling us about that. So now we're going to go with the third topic, which is Nicholas Hernandez.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Lowe, for sharing some of the information about your career as a deputy district attorney. So I'd like to shift the topic more into your role as a deputy district attorney. And you previously mentioned that this is a job that you're very proud of, especially because you deal with a lot of important and serious cases with respect to criminal justice. So I wanted to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about how you got into this profession and what was your overall inspiration or driving force to become a lawyer and eventually become a deputy district attorney, which is a very high position for a lawyer with respect to your field?
Oh, thanks. Wow. Well, first, look, I am really proud of being a deputy district attorney, not because I am like, what do you call it, boastful about that job. I'm proud of it is because it's such a privilege to be able to do that. When you meet people who have been a victim of crime, like, they have nowhere to go. And it's such an honor to say, I understand, I know what happened to you. I'm standing next to you, and I will speak up for you. I will make sure that you get the justice that you deserve. And I'll try to make you whole. I'll try to bring you back to where you were before this happened to you, or I'll try to do the best I can. And I'll help you I will help you be safe, feel safe. I don't know if the worst is when somebody dies or somebody really loses something special, but you do the best you can. And I want to show you this. Can you see that okay? This is my badge as a deputy district attorney. So I am like so honored to carry that because it just really means so much to me, because it's people saying, I trust you. I trust you to help me. I trust you to enforce the law, and I trust you to be fair, and I trust you to be fair to everyone. So it's really neat. And what inspired me was that I've always had a desire to help people who really couldn't help themselves. I'm an immigrant, and when I was young and I went to school, I didn't speak any English. And so I know what it's like when people say, oh, you don't speak English, go back to China. And they think you're really stupid because you can't speak. And I watched that happen to me, and I watched it happen to other people, and I said, hey, that's not right. And so those were the seeds that were in my heart to become a public servant, really, and to be a deputy district attorney. And then, you see people that you love, and they get victimized. You say, no, that's not right. We have to fix that. And so that's what inspired me to do this. And I just was so lucky, Nicholas, to become a deputy district attorney. I can't even tell you. I was so lucky. I started out. I don't know if you know. Have you ever heard of the foster care system? So foster care system is where kids have really sad homes, and they have to leave their parents for whatever reason. I started doing that kind of work, and it was really hard. Then I moved over to the Attorney General's office, where we worked on cases after someone has been convicted. And then I met the DA, and I did an interview, and he says, okay, I'm going to hire you. And I said, oh, yes. And that was like 23 years ago. And so I just got really lucky, and it's been just fabulous.
Thank you for sharing your story and your inspiration, because that's really an inspiration for a lot of people. Like, I know myself and Connor are thinking about going into law in the future. So your inspiration to become a lawyer is something that we also share. We really want to fight for our clients and victims in the future. So I wanted to also ask you, what were, if you don't mind telling us, some examples of very compelling or cases that meant a lot to you that you fought for, and you mentioned that you really try to help families out and victims, such as you mentioned domestic violence. So if there's anything that you could possibly share with us with respect to those types of cases.
One of my cases, it's a domestic violence case, but it's not your normal one. This was not your normal case. It was a shooting death. So the shooter was a female, and the victim was also female. And what happened was that the shooter was married to her husband, and they had a weird relationship where eventually he brought over another woman to become his wife, and all three of these people lived together. And the wife, the first wife, did not get along with the second wife, and she ended up shooting her to death. And the second wife had come over from a foreign country, and her family sent her here thinking that she was going to be married to this man that they thought was great, and it was like an arranged marriage. But when she came here, she was subjected to just a really abusive home life with the man, her husband, and his first wife, and it was horrible. But she had nobody because her family was thousands in another continent. And so eventually, when the husband was away this one day, the first wife stalked her and shot her to death in the bathroom. So why was it a compelling case? Well, obviously somebody died. It was compelling in that this poor victim had nobody. She had nobody to reach out to her. She had a friend, and the friend attended the trial, but that was it. There was no other relations or friendships because she was so isolated by being in Los Angeles. But on the other hand, the woman who actually shot the defendant, the shooter, she kind of had nowhere to go either. She was stuck in that really awful relationship, and it went crazy. But she shot another person, and now she's paying the price. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say is it's so complicated. Justice is so complicated. Then I had another case, and it was a sexual abuse case. And the abuser, like a lot of abusers, they get to know the victim and the victim's family, and the victim's family trusts them, invites them to their house, and then they prey on their child. It's horrible. So that person is spending the rest of his life in prison. That's a good one, because that's where he deserves to be. Every victim, when the person victimizes one person, it's just never that. You know, there's so many people that are affected. So it just really is a lot to think about. It's really an awesome responsibility, but we do it because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you for sharing that. We have a lot of respect for you for the line of work you're in and the cases that you work on. It's very honorable.
Oh, thanks.
Of course. So I'd also, now I want to go into more of your city council career and also your deputy district attorney career and how they're related, because you mentioned that public safety was one of your main priorities as a city council member because it was one of the biggest concerns of the Diamond Bar residents. So I wanted to ask you if what experiences or aspects of being a deputy district attorney did you utilize to help the residents of Diamond Bar? And was there anything that you possibly learned from the residents of Diamond Bar that helped you later on when advocating for victims in the court?
So anyway, before I became on city council, I worked in the Pomona courthouse. And so I was doing a preliminary hearing, which is kind of like a mini trial. And it was a burglary of a house that was over there behind Walmart. You know, those houses behind there are all these houses. So it was a guy, it was 3 people who burglarized the house, and they were casing the house, and then they went in. And so I was calling each of these witnesses, all the neighbors, to testify. And they said, yeah, I saw you got out of that car, and then you ran into the house, and then you ran out. When you ran in, you had nothing in your hand. When you ran out, you had all these bags in your hand. And then I called another witness, and and then they said, yeah, we saw you and we chased you, and you dropped the bag here in my backyard, and all these things. So then this was before I became on city council. So when I got on city council, I was talking to the sheriffs about, what, burglary is really a crime in this area, blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I did this one case, and the neighbors just really came together, and they worked together, and they did this case. And the officer that I was talking to says, yeah, that's my case. I investigated that case, and I arrested those 3 guys. And I said, hey, that was my case. I did that case in court. So that just was like the perfect, it was like such a coincidence that we both, from a DA side and from the police side, worked on a Diamond Bar case. It's like amazing. So what does that mean? It means that when I talk to the cops here in our state, our Diamond Bar Walnut Station, I have credibility. I know what I'm talking about. And I say, you know what, you need to do this better if we're going to prosecute these people, or you need to follow these rules, or you need to be creative in this way. And yet, on the other hand, I can understand their concerns. They need to have support as well. They need training. They need to have the funds in order to train themselves, to have the manpower in order to do their jobs. And they also need the respect and the appreciation of our community in order to feel good about what they do, so they can continue to do it, because they're ultimately doing it for us. So the best thing that I bring about into the city council from my career as a deputy district attorney is I bring credibility, I bring perspective, I bring it from both sides, and understanding of where people are, as well as what the job is requiring our officers to do.
So with that said, I think we're going to, that's all of the questions we had. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. And let me just say hello to Angela. You're there. Thank you for, I know you didn't have you're not lined up for questions, but I just want to thank you for your participation and just really being engaged in our discussion today.